What is up, everyone? It is Tyler from Parallax Entertainment here with another video. Today we are starting off our 7.2.5 guide series, and I hope you guys enjoyed as much as you guys did in the 7.2 guides. So today we're going to start off with our Blood Death Knight guide. So first off, I'm going to do a rundown of what we're going to be going over in this guide, and then we'll jump right in. Alright guys, so if you can please drop in the description really quickly, check out our Discord link and our Twitter link. We're always in Discord, so if you guys have any questions about this guide, you can hop right in there and talk to me or one of the Team Parallax members directly. Also, on our Twitter, you can tweet us or directly DM us, and we'll also respond there. So pretty much, this DK has changed only a little bit in 7.2.5. We received a pretty substantial damage increase, which was actually really what the DK was lacking in 7.2 and the patch before that. So also guys, in the description we have a Patreon. We just put up the Patreon page, so if we are one of your favorite WoW content creators, one of your favorite guide creators, please, if you guys can donate any amount, $1 a month or anything you can donate to us, we really appreciate it. It's going to help us with the quality of our guides and overall the content that we put out. Also, if you guys haven't already, please make sure to drop that subscribe button and also hit the notifications bell. It really helps us out a lot, and also you guys can see when we put out our videos right away. So if you guys enjoy this video, please make sure to drop that like at the end of the video. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over the rundown in this video. First we'll be going into stat priority, then we will go into our talents, then of course we have our rotation, and of course then we'll have our CDs. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into our stat priority. First off, DKs have pretty much 3 different stat priorities that we can follow. We have one that's survivability, another one that's damage oriented, and another one that's balance, which most people go with. Some people, I also see a lot of Death Knights that go the damage orientation way, since DKs in 7.2 you know, they lacked a little bit of damage, but in 7.2.5, since we got some pretty hefty buffs in our damage category, I might see a couple more DKs go more towards the balance side of it. So let's go ahead and start with the balance, which I recommend. It is first haste, second versatility, third critical strike, and fourth mastery. So now let's go ahead and get into our DPS oriented stat priority. First is haste, second critical strike, third versatility, and fourth mastery. Now let's go ahead and get into survivability stat priority. It is first haste, second versatility, third mastery, and fourth critical strike. Now all of these stat priorities are pretty close in common, so stacking one over another might not change it as much as you guys think, but if you can get that right gear, it can change it up to a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and pretty much just let you guys know what each stat of these what each stat does for you as a Blood Death Knight. First off, which I actually really like this this stat. I love mastery. Mastery, it pretty much turns into your blood shield and makes it larger, and it smooths damage intake, which Blood Death Knights are really lacking overall. So mastery can really help that. Really helps your healers, just smoothing in that damage intake, not taking as much of it. So critical strike, this of course makes you crit more often, and all of your crit also is converted to parry chance. Versatility, very simple, increase all your damage and healing done, and decreases the damage you take. Now haste, it increases your attack speed, of course, and your rune regeneration, and of course this just grants you overall more resources and allows you to use more resources throughout a fight. So that overall helps you a lot. So knowing that, you guys can pretty much pick what you guys would like the best, what your stat priority would like to be in 7.2.5. So now let's go ahead and move on to our talents. Let's get right in. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to our talent choices in 7.2.5. First off, in our level 56 category, we're going to want to go with either Heartbreaker or Blood Drinker. Most people that I've seen as DKs have gone with Blood Drinker, including myself. However, Heartbreaker is also a fight dependent talent choice that we can use. Heartbreaker, Heart Strike, generates 2 additional runic power per target hit, which is really good if we are going for an insane OP or ad management fight, such as on Scorpion and 7.2. If we were taking the ads, maybe you want to go with Heartbreaker, since we are going to be using a lot of Hard Strike to get that AoE damage up. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to our talent level 57 choices. First off, we received a bit of a change in our level 57 with the addition of Heart of Ice. Pretty much what Heart of Ice does is every time you use your Death Strike, the duration of your Icebound Fortitude is increased by 2 seconds. So in this tier, we either want to go with a Rapid Decomposition or the newly added Heart of Ice. Heart of Ice, we're going to want to use when we are in just a specific raid encounter that we're going to need those extra few seconds of Icebound Fortitude to keep us alive through very intense phases of the fight, that we're going to need that up throughout that entire phase. So level 57 Rapid Decomposition as well. A lot of people are going to want to stay with this because Death and Decay takes 15% more often, and while you're in it, you generate 1 runic power per second. So let's go ahead and move on to our level 58 talent choice, which we're going to want to stick with Ossuary, and this hasn't changed since 7.2, so you don't have to do much changing in this talent choice. But however, this is just the only choice that we can really have, because if you keep your 5 Bone Shield charges up, your cost of your Death Strike is reduced by 5 runic power, and that is your main way of self-healing. And also it increases your maximum runic power by 10, so you're going to have 110 instead of 100. So let's move on to our level 60 talent choice, and this is another one which we're only want to usually go with one of them, which is Red Thirst. Spinning runic power will decrease the remaining cooldown on your Vampiric Blood by 1 second per 6 runic power. You can use that Vampiric Blood very often with this talent choice. Another one that's very also fight dependent would be Mark of Blood, which places a Mark of Blood on an enemy for 25 seconds. The enemy's damaging auto attacks will also heal their victim for 3% of the victim's maximum health. Very fight dependent, guys. I don't see a lot of people running this. However, it is possible. So let's go ahead and move on into our level 75 talent choice. This is between Tightening Grasp and March of the Damned. I go with March of the Damned a lot, especially on fights that I need to move around a lot, because this extends your Wraith Walk by twice as long as it is now. It also breaks stun, snare, and root effects when you cast it. Tightening Grasp pretty much just reduces the cooldown of Gorfine's Grasp by 30 seconds, and your Death and Decay also reduces the speed of enemies within its radius by a big ol' 70%. So Tightening Grasp, good for packing up ads. March of the Damned, good for movement intense fights. Level 90 talent choice, we are either going to want to go with a Rune Tap or Foul Bulwark. I see a lot of people going with Foul Bulwark. However, I also go with Rune Tap sometimes depending on the fight. With Foul Bulwark, you want to keep up your Bone Shield as high as you can. Like I said, remember, try to, like I'm going to say in our rotation, we're going to want to go with this at least 6 stacks of your Bone Shield. So each time you have your Bone Shield up, it increases your health by 2%, which is very nice. Also, you can also go with Rune Tap, which you consume a rune to reduce all damage taken by 40%. So if there's a fight that you really need to have that 40% damage reduction up for a lot of the fight, say a specific thing that you need to soak multiple times for the fight, you can actually take this over the Foul Bulwark, and it could be very useful. So let's go ahead and move on into our level 100 talent choice. You are either going to want to go with Purgatory, or the other ones are also very fight dependent. Purgatory is pretty much the unholy pact that prevents you from taking fatal damage and instead absorbs the incoming healing and damage prevented for lasting 3 seconds. And of course, if you don't get healed enough to remain alive, then you will of course die. Our rotation in 7.2.5 has not changed at all since 7.2, so I'm going to go over all the priorities we need to do to get the best out of our DK in 7.2.5. First, we're going to want to use our Marrowrend to keep our Bone Shield above 6 stacks, which means we're going to have a larger health pool with our Bone Shield, as well as decreasing the amount of runic power we need to use on our Death Strike. We're going to want to use Blood Boil if any nearby enemies don't have your Blood Plague, which is of course caused by your Blood Boil. Blood Plague pretty much just heals you, and it does damage to your enemies. So if you have 3 enemies, make sure Blood Plague is on all of them. The more damage it does, the more healing it does back to you, increasing your survivability. Use Death and Decay, and make sure you stand in it if you're using the Rapid Decomposition talent, because it will increase the amount of runic power you are getting by 1 every single 1 second you are standing in it. We're going to want to use our Death Strike to avoid capping runic power, of course, and of course use it as an active mitigation and to increase our healing and get that little bit of that absorb shield. We're going to want to use our Heart Strike if we have 3 or more runes, and if you need to quickly build your runic power for your Death Strike. So if you don't have enough runic power for your Death Strike, make sure to build it with your Heart Strike. And pretty much we're going to want to intertwine our Consumption, which is our artifact ability, and of course as well intertwine our Blood Boil, because Blood Boil also does a lot of damage. You're just going to want to weave in your Death Strikes throughout your rotation here to maximize, of course, your healing, and which will allow you to survive throughout the fight. So let's go ahead and move on to our cooldowns. First, we have Anti-Magic Shell, which is one of our strongest cooldowns for magic fights. It's very OP and it comes up a lot throughout the fight. It absorbs up to 30% of your maximum health and magic damage over 5 seconds, so make sure this also comes in handy when you have a lot of stacks on your Bone Shield, which increases your health pool, which will also increase the amount of damage that the Anti-Magic Shell can absorb. So pretty much use it on magic fights as often as you can, and make sure to use it when you're going to take a lot of magic damage so you can absorb the maximum amount of damage you can. Another great cooldown that we have is Dancing Rune Weapon. It's actually used as a TPS cooldown a lot because it mimics your melee attacks, but it is also can be used as a bit of a survivability cooldown because it increases your parry chance. So use that as often as you can for your damage, and use it up as well as the survivability cooldown that it is. Another amazing CD that we have is Icebound Fortitude, pretty much our strongest one. It reduces all damage you take for 8 seconds by 20%. It's mostly used proactively, and if you're using that new talent that we have, you can of course increase the amount of time that you can use it for. The biggest cooldown that we'll be using the most is of course our Vampiric Blood, which the cooldown is decreased by using our runic power. Every 6 runic power we use, it goes down. So Vampiric Blood increases your maximum health and the amount of healing you receive by 30%. Usually you want to use this right before you take a big hit, because it will increase your maximum health and of course increase the amount of healing that you take afterwards. It can also be used if you're about to die, just reacting to it to increase your health and of course increase the healing you take. So those are pretty much our survival cooldowns. Alright guys, thanks once again for watching the video. That pretty much sums up everything in our DK 7.2.5 guide. So if you guys enjoyed it, please make sure to drop that like and hit the subscribe button if you guys haven't already. Hit the notification bell if you want to see exactly when we put up our videos. And once again, remember to check out the description for our Discord and our Twitter and of course our new Patreon page. Thank you guys once again for watching.